Hello everyone and welcome back to Steins Gate Zero. I'm G and we have been dealing with the Yuki situation because apparently Taru sucks at flirting and dating and just women in general. Anyways. Oh geez, what are we gonna do? Everything's almost finished even though it's never even started. As soon as she got back to the lab, she yelled at her useless father.
I'm sorry, the Hashida family is doomed.
Stop saying they're feeling sorry for yourself. This isn't funny. Start by explaining why you were acting that way today. You looked so excited when you left this morning, and Mom said you were normal until halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
So what the hell happened?
Well, you see, listen to this. You know how movie theater seats are cramped, right? So I tried to sit as far to the edge as I could so I wouldn't get in Manishi's way. And then I heard this crack and the seat almost broke.
What?
And then I tried to support myself, so I grabbed the armrest. But it wasn't the armrest. It was Manishi's hand.
Yeah? Mom didn't say anything about that.
I'm telling you the truth, it was so soft it could have only been an armrest. It couldn't have been an armrest. It was a girl's hand. It had to have been.
I see.
But you see, I've held a lot of 2D girls' hands, but never a real girl's.
And? What happened then?
Man, she's so nice. I guess she didn't try to shake it off because she didn't want to hurt me. But you know how fat I am, right? I sweat a lot. She must have gotten soaked. She didn't say a word. So I really started to think about that.
Oh, I see. That's why you were acting so weird.
I'm sure in her mind she was going, "Get off me, you creepy loser pervert."
Mom's not like that. In fact, from the way she was acting, she probably thought she'd upset him somehow. The problem was what she'd said. I don't know what I want to do. What'd she mean by that? I don't know what Mom's thinking.
Let's give up on Mom and you can live with me.
You're not making any sense. How am I even supposed to be born? Oh, wait, nope. That's not Suzuha's voice. Why did I go into Okabe's voice? I'm confused.
It's impossible.
How come you're not even trying? Even if those things look bad, you have to keep going. She grabbed her father by the collar and shook him. If you don't... She remembered how sad Yuki had looked when they'd said goodbye. Otherwise, something awful will happen.
Yeah.
And then she heard a car park in front of the lab. We're here, yeah! She recognized the voice coming from below the open window.
Oh, that Fairy-san's voice?
Suzuha let go of Itaru's collar and moved over to the window. Below, she saw a group of people she knew. Intaro Okabe, Mayuri Shina, Ferris Nyanyan. And Maho Hyajo, too. Hyajo's here already? Why is she here with Uncle Ocarine? And then she gave a start and turned back towards the room. Wait, this is bad. We haven't put it away.
Huh?
Suzuha pointed towards the desk in the development room where the phone wave change unit 02 was sitting.
Oh, crap, hide it!
Okie dokie. If nothing else, this meant that Maho Hyajo was coming to the Future Gadget Lab. Suzuha hoped that this meant the work on the phone wave would get back on track. Vega and Altair. I think we are still on the right track. There was a small explosion and the room filled with smoke. The window! Open the window!
Okay. Doki.
Maho crawled out into the living room. Taru rushed to open the window and she heard a man who was probably the building owner yell up at them.
Hey Hashida, what was that sound? You're making bombs up there. I'll call the cops. Sorry, the microwave blew up.
Utaru poked his head out and apologized to the man below. It took a minute, but the owner was finally satisfied and the argument ended.
Wow, that really scared me.
As Utaru wiped away the sweat, he saw that his face and clothes were both covered in soot. Scared you? It should have. Maho was no different. Some of her hair had been burned off, and the white lab coat she'd gone through all that trouble to get had turned pitch black. Explain what's going on. Where'd that smoke come from?
Probably the microwave. Picked it up from a dumpster, so I probably stored it out somewhere.
Picked it up from where? What is wrong with you? We're working on one of the greatest inventions in human history. You're using parts from a dumpster? Why?
Commercial microwaves are expensive.
I can't believe you. Do something about this. Use my credit card if you have to. Maho didn't have that much money, but this was no time to be cheap.
That's a big help.
Maho wiped her sweaty, soot-covered face with the towel. The white towel turned black immediately. I can't take this anymore. I'm turning on the air conditioner.
That's not happening. If you use it at the same time as the phone wave, you'll trip the breaker. And I told you, you can't use the air conditioner for more than an hour a day because it's so expensive.
These working conditions were abysmal. Was Kurusu really able to create the timely machine under these circumstances? Just thinking about it gave her even more respect for Kurusu. Fine, but I'd like to at least take a shower and get this soot out of my hair.
Go ahead.
If you even think about peeking, I'll go straight to Suzuha. Remember that.
I wouldn't do that.
For some reason, Itaru responded to Maho's warning by sighing and slumping his shoulders.
And actually, I don't feel up to dealing with jokes like that right now.
Maho hadn't meant it as a joke. He was extremely serious.
I'm in such a bad way that I'm not even playing H games.
He'd heard from Suzuha that the day she'd arrived in Japan, Itaru had screwed up bad on a date. It was true that Itaru was a lot quieter than his usual self. Mayuri had even said that Daru not playing H games must be an omen of some impending natural disaster. Either way, she didn't have time for his negativity, so she mostly ignored him and went to the shower room. Since Suzuha used the shower regularly, it was relatively clean. There was a good selection of body soaps and shampoo, and Suzuha told her she could use it as she liked. Sheesh, I'm spending Tanabata covered in soot. That day was indeed Tanabata. Actually, Maho had been secretly looking forward to this day. Since she'd lived in America for so long, she was interested in Japan's traditional summer holiday. She was especially interested in the famous story of Orihime and Hikoboshi, and the custom of writing down wishes and hanging them from bamboo. Since she was here, she sort of wanted to try writing down a wish, too. She didn't want to bring it up herself, because she didn't want anyone thinking of her as childish. But Mayuri, Ferris, and the other girls seemed that they want to do something like that. Part of her had hoped they'd invite her, too. That's why it hurt so much to be spending the hot summer afternoon in a lab with Itaru covered in soot. She was thinking about that as she washed herself off, when...
Maho-tan! Maho-tan!
You could hear Itaru calling her from outside. Huh? Well, what? Don't tell me you're really going to peek. I dare you to open that door even an inch. I'll cry.
Now's no time for being cute. I just got word from Mayushi. Ogreen might be coming here.
What? Okabe? Maho's mind started to race. She'd been told that Okabe rarely came to the lab anymore. In fact, after he dropped her off here on the first day, he hadn't come by even once. That's why she'd felt safe going in and out of the lab, but...
I hit the phone wave, but make sure he doesn't find out what we're doing.
Right, I know. Wait, I shouldn't even be here. I need to get back to Ferris's place and hide.
Why?
Because I'm supposed to be in Okinawa. That's how she'd explained her visit to Okabe. If he found out she was working on the phone wave with Itaru, there would be trouble.
That's right. Okay, hurry up and come out.
I can't, not with you standing there.
Well, that's right.
After she was sure Itaru was gone, she quickly washed the bubbles from the body soap off her body. Her long hair still wasn't dry, but there wasn't time for that. She wiped herself off with a towel and was about to leave the shower room when she heard the door open. Hey, Daru. He was here already. Quickly shut the door to the shower room again. Then she looked down and saw that she was naked. Her clothes were lying on the floor past the door. There was no way she could get them without Okabe seeing her. Her only choice was to stay hidden, completely undressed, and wait for him to leave. This is really kind of nerve-wracking. Hey, Daru. Daru greeted me as I came inside the lab. He seemed to be in kind of a hurry.
Oh, Green. I didn't see you coming by yourself very often anymore.
The room smelled kind of like smoke. And someone must have been using the shower room because the smoky smell was mixed with the scent of soap. But whoever it was, it definitely wasn't Daru. His face and clothes were blackened with soot. I thought it might be Suzuha, but the lights in the shower room were turned off. What were you doing? Dude, you're black with soot.
Oh, well. I got this microwave from the garbage dump, you know, and it was warming up a lunch I got from the convenience store and it blew up.
It blew up? You okay?
Mr. Brown got mad at me.
Don't get him too riled up. You don't know when he'll kick you out. If he does that, you might be okay, but Suzuha will have nowhere to go.
That's right. So, what are you doing here? Aishi isn't here.
I need to talk to you. Good news.
But I refused.
I haven't said anything yet.
Nothing you've ever come to talk to me about has ever ended up being good news.
Come on, just hear me out. Last night I went to dinner with Dr. Leskinen, and we were talking about the exchange program.
Oh, that again?
I was keeping in touch with Dr. Leskinen. Of course, the professor knew that Maho was here in Japan. Yesterday, he'd shown me a picture of her taken in Okinawa. I could see her standing in the surf with a blank expression on her face. A friend or a family member must have taken it. Dr. Leskinen had been really nice to me, and I talked to him a lot about going to Victochondria. Of course, at a minimum, I needed to graduate my current school and pass the exchange exam for Victochondria. I actually was telling him about you, and he was interested.
Huh? In me?
Victochondria has got something called an information science lab. It brings together hackers from around the world, supposedly. With your talents, don't you think you'd fit in fine there? I'd been inviting Daru to come to America with me, but he didn't seem that interested. He said things like,
I can't imagine living away from the otaku mecca, and no way am I living anywhere you can't get H-games and anime figures.
He'd done nothing but give excuses like that.
Well, I am a super hacker. I'm sure I'd be fine, but...
Why not meet with him at least? You've met him before.
I'm busy now.
You can make time for one day.
Until Komima's over, probably.
That's over a month away.
It's not happening for a while, okay?
Give me a break, man. You're full of excuses. Do you really not want to go that badly? I sighed and sat down on the sofa. This room really was hot as hell during the summer. The windows were open and the fans were running at full speed, but I was still sweating. There was an air conditioner, but evidently he wasn't using it. Daru, got any Dr. P?
I don't know, maybe Mayushi put some in the fridge.
I got up and took a look in the fridge in the corner of the room. There was regular soda, mineral water, and some sports drinks, but not a single Dr. P. As usual, the freezer was stuffed with juicy fried chicken #1. Mayuri really did buy a ton of the stuff. Wait, was there even more than usual? Maybe she'd brought some for Suzuha too. I'm going to grab a sports drink.
Pick any except the one that Suzuha already drank out of.
I grabbed an unopened bottle and took a big gulp. I happened to take a look at the snack shelf next to the fridge. Mixed in with the instant noodles and snacks were 5 bunches of bananas. Mayuri must have brought those too. But still, all that fried chicken and now these bananas. Was she eating more than she had before? She always said that no matter how much she ate, she never got fat, but she bought this many bananas at once. They were all going to turn brown and squishy before she could eat them all. Does Mayuri really need all those bananas?
Oh, it wasn't Mayushi who bought those, it was me. Oh.
Daru quickly cut himself off. I turned toward him and he averted his gaze. He'd been acting really weird this whole time. Was he hiding something? You bought all these? When did you start liking bananas?
Well, you know, it was Suzuha's idea. She told me to eat some every day because it's good for my diet.
There was a diet like that before, come to think of it. Some celebrity had gone on TV and said she'd lost a bunch of weight on a banana diet. And the next day, all the bananas in Japan disappeared from stores. My dad had tried to get in on the boom a little too late and bought a huge supply of bananas, only to see it flare out and most of them raw on the shelves. I remembered that. So don't buy so many at once. They've already changed color. Well, whatever. I was hungry, so I decided to take one. I took a banana and peeled the skin. Just don't go overboard with everything, okay?
You're right, yeah.
I finished the banana in 3 bites and went to toss the peel in the burnable trash can. And then I noticed something strange. The can was filled with bananas. More than anybody could possibly eat. Over half the can was filled up with bananas. And it wasn't just the skins. Some of them were unpeeled but half rotten, and the summer heat made them give off a nasty stench. I remembered seeing something like this once before. We're making bananas again? That's right. It was when I was living here a year ago, doing experiments every day. And then my mind flashed back to the contents of the fridge, and that bizarre stockpile of juicy fried chicken. It couldn't be. I plunged my hand into the garbage can, not caring about the filth.
Wait, Ocarine?
Daru was clearly uneasy, but I ignored him. I was right. Under the remains of the bananas, I saw tons of boxes of empty fried chicken. No matter how much Mayuri liked them, or how much of a glutton Daru was, no one would voluntarily eat this much frozen fried chicken every day. I went deeper into the garbage can, and then I found something I didn't want to see. Hey, Daru.
What?
Bananas and frozen fried chicken. This brings back a lot of memories, doesn't it?
Yeah?
Must have been about a year ago. We used to do all kinds of experiments like this. We'd waste a lot, so Mayuri would get mad at us. She'd tell us not to waste food.
That's right.
So we ended up having to eat the bananas that we warmed in the microwave to get rid of them. They tasted terrible. But we never were able to eat these. What I pulled out of the garbage can was a green, gooey mess. It was a thick, disgusting liquid like you'd expect to see if you crushed a giant bug. The goo dripped out of my fingers and splattered onto the floor. It was what used to be a banana. What we'd once called a gel nana.
Oops.
Larry put his hands to his head. Then he evidently gave up on hiding it.
Whoops, I didn't expect you to find out this easily. I thought I could hide it a little more. I was actually going to tell you soon because I needed your help. Daru tossed me the towel. Evidently, he'd already used it because it was covered in black soot, but I decided to wipe the gel nana off my hands with it anyway. Daru went into the development room and started moving boxes and dust covers. Here is Unit 02.
And on the table appeared the horrible Future Gadget number 8, which I'd built, improved, and finally dismantled a year ago. We put it together again.
I wasn't sure if I should call it Unit 02 or Version 2.
I don't care about the name.
Are you serious? Can't believe you're saying that. We used to have a roundtable meeting and have a lot of fun picking names for the Future Gadgets.
It's all dark history.
Really?
Larry was looking at the dust-covered Future Gadgets that were sitting on the shelf of the development room. There was something like fondness in his gaze. Why the hell was he acting like this? Did he think of that nightmare as some kind of happy, youthful memory? I was about to tell him to go screw himself, but held it in. You forget what I told you. This thing is dangerous. It's not something we should have.
But I need to make a time machine in the future, you know? Which means I need to research this as a first step, I think.
Daru! I gave up on trying to hold it back. I got up in his face and yelled at him. I told you again and again and again and again, right? I told you what happened because of this thing. I told you what I went through. Harry was killed because we made this thing. Kursu was sacrificed because we made this thing. Your daughter went back into the past and committed suicide because we made this thing. If you've forgotten, do you want me to go over it again? You that stupid? Are you so dumb that you won't understand unless you experience it for yourself? You're the one who's being stupid, Rintaro Okabe. I suddenly heard an angry female voice behind me. I looked back and saw Maho Hyajo glaring at me. What? Hyajo?
Oh, legal lolly for the win.
What happened to your clothes? No, wait, what are you doing here? Oh, this is... I just couldn't sit there and listen. Don't stare at me, I'll sue. It's your fault for coming out like that. Hold on, I'll go get dressed. Maho quickly went back into the shower room and came out dressed a moment later. Ahem, excuse me, sorry about that. You've been hiding here since I first arrived? Who cares about me? Did you fake that picture of you in Okinawa that you sent to Dr. Leskinen? Both the professor and I were completely taken in by that picture of her standing in that Okinawa beach. But it seemed we'd both been tricked. It was well made enough that Daru must have been involved. So you didn't come to Japan to visit Okinawa? Yes, that's right. I came for that machine with the stupid name. What was it again? Phone wave name subject to change? I told you what happened because of the D-mails, too. Are you going to repeat that? No. How? You send a D-mail, Echelon will pick it up, and the world line will go back from Beta to Alpha. And then Mayuri will die again. I won't be able to save her no matter what I do. She'll keep dying for all eternity. And then I had a terrifying thought and stared directly into Maho's eyes. No way. She of all people couldn't possibly. I trusted Maho completely and I didn't want to believe she was capable of it. But the terrible machine that I just confronted had drained me of any kind of rationality. Flashback felt like it was going to hit me any second. Images of Kurisu and Mayuri's deaths were flashing through my mind. And so I said something I never should have said. You aren't trying to bring back the Alpha World Line, are you? What? Are you trying to create a world where Kurisu lives and Mayuri dies? What?
You asshole!
There was an impact on my cheek, and a loud sound in my ears. The next thing I knew, I was lying on the ground, face up. It was a while before I understood what had happened. The left half of my face felt like it was on fire. I was punched? By Daru? I'd known him for 5 years, and this was the first time anything like that had happened.
Apologize! Apologize to Maho-tan right now!
Wait, stop it, Hashida!
I can only imagine how much you're suffering, Ocarine. So I'm not giving you any cheap sympathy. But in the end, you're just using that as an excuse. Maho-tan, Suzuha, even Mayushi, you know how much they've done for you.
That's enough, stop it! Maho grabbed Daru's body and tried to hold him back.
Let me go! He's not going to understand unless I hit him again.
That's enough! What you just did was enough, so calm down! This time Maho put her hand on Daru's shoulder. I'll explain the rest. Go wash your face or something. Go! Going towards the shower room, and Daru finally seemed to get control of himself again.
Fine.
He looked a little awkward as he lowered his fist. Normally, he hated any kind of seriousness, so in a situation like this, he'd always tell one of his perverted gentleman jokes. But there were no jokes as he vanished beyond the curtain into the shower room. A moment later, I could hear the sound of the water. Christ. Maho was looking down at me. It's your fault for being weird. You're right. I'm sorry. Didn't mean it. I know that. You're not like that. Come on, can you stand up? I grabbed her hand and slowly got up. I'd taken a solid hit when I wasn't expecting it, so my head was still a little dizzy. That hurt, and somebody who's normally gentle finally gets mad. He's really strong. That's right. When somebody gets mad for someone else's sake, not their own. I think that's wonderful. This has changed my opinion of him a little bit. Maho seemed a bit happy as she looked towards the shower room. Only a little bit. Because he's always sexually harassing me. Maybe he's fallen in love with you. Kids do that all the time, you know? Tease the girls they like. He's a kid at heart after all. You've gotta be kidding me. Do you want Susanna to be my daughter? That would be bad, yeah. I chuckled a bit, but quickly stopped and turned to face Maho. The difference between our heights was so great that I was looking down at her. If you want my subjective opinion, this world exists because of Kursu's choice. Mayuri is safe because of Kursu. She can live and be happy. I have to protect that. You're a scientist. You're a lot smarter than I am. So you can understand that, right? You can understand the laws of the universe. Yeah. Maho quietly nodded. You could call it God if you wanted to. It's stupid for humans to challenge God. But I tried anyway, and then I tried a dozen times more. And then I tried 100 times more than that. I failed every time. It was all useless. God will never forgive human arrogance. You're right. Maho was looking out the window. It was as if she was thinking back to her homeland and ancestors. God is a popular guy back home, and among the people of Okinawa. I learned those wonderful beliefs from my parents and grandparents, too. I'm a scientist, but I would never mess with God. But then, Maho shook her head a little and looked up at me with a piercing gaze. The God you're talking about, that's completely different. Her words were sharp, with no room for disagreement. The laws of the universe? Those are just the equations that define the world. A wonderful being called God has nothing to do with them, and there's no reason we can't solve them. I was about to respond, but before I could, Maho went inside the development room. I had no choice but to follow her. I'm well aware of the relationship between Echelon and the D-Mails and how dangerous it is. Don't worry, we've sealed away the D-Mail function for now. What you're concerned about is never going to happen because I won't let it. I'm not letting us go back to the Alpha World Line. Of course, Hashida and I are working on a way to avoid the danger of the D-Mail and to neutralize Echelon. But before we start spending resources on that, there's something we have to do first. Something personal. Maho tapped the top of the phone wave unit too. What we're researching now is the time leap technology that you say Kursu developed. This can only time leap? That's right. He was right. I was looking at a time leap machine, not the phone wave names of the change. I could tell they'd recreated all the improvements that Kursu had made to the phone wave. The most obvious was the PC and monitor that were connected to the microwave. And connected to the PC was a headset and what looked like a cord covered in electrodes. In this world line, only I knew the details of how the time leap machine was set up, and I hadn't told Daru or Maho about them. In other words, with only some small hints, Maho had managed to create the same thing as Kursu. To be honest, it's really frustrating. Frustrating? The more research I do, the more I realize that I can never be Kursu. I can get as far as digitizing the memory data and transferring it to a cell phone along with the top-down search signals. I still can't clear the biggest hurdle, even though Kursu could. The data compression, right? Maho nodded. Just can't solve the mystery of how she managed to compress all of those terabytes of data. That was the part that Kursu had struggled with the most, too. but in the end, with Daru's help, she'd been able to do it. Did Kurisu tell you anything about it? She seemed a little unhappy as she asked me that. Asking for the answer meant giving up on finding the solution for herself, and so it meant admitting defeat. Maybe that was really hard for her. Yet she'd chosen to put completing the machine first. But I had no intention of giving her the answer right away. You made me a promise when we last talked, right? That you wouldn't try to save Kurosumaki-sei using the time machine. That's right. Do you still intend to keep it? If you don't, I can't help you. Maho didn't answer for a while. But without even looking at her face, I could tell she was being torn apart inside. Of course I do. I promised you after all. After a long pause, she gave her answer. I couldn't help but laugh. You're a terrible liar. With that look on your face, it's obvious you're not telling the truth. We're done talking. Then I left the development room. I looked toward the shower room, but I could still hear the sound of falling water from within. Daru was showing no signs of being done. Hey Daru, I was the stupid one. I'm really sorry. I spoke, but there was no answer. Maybe he hadn't heard me. It seemed better for both of us if I apologized tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow. That was all I said as I headed towards the door. Okabe. Maho followed me. She came up to me so fast she almost slammed into me. You think Steins Gate exists? You think that there's really another world line in the gap between the Alpha and Beta ones? Where Mayuri survives and Kurisu doesn't have to die? If you want to know what happened when I tried to reach it, ask Suzuha. In the end, I couldn't beat fate. Steins Gate is just a stupid delusion. Are you really sure, though? You haven't proven that it doesn't exist, you know? That's just the devil's proof, though, right? Nobody can prove a negative. That's right. You haven't proven whether it exists or not. You've given up after one failure. Maho was gritting her teeth hard. Can't believe you. What? I almost went out of control and grabbed her by the shoulders, but I managed to stop myself at the last second. I told you before, right? I tried dozens, no hundreds of times before that. And remember what I said? It's not because of the laws of God, whatever they may be. The world lines, the time machine, Steins Gate. They're all just part of the equations that make up the world. Failed dozens of times or hundreds of times. So what? That happens all the time in science. If you fail that many times, then you try 1,000 times, or 1,000,000 times, or 1,000,000,000 times. And then you're certain to find the answer. You don't know anything. You haven't experienced it. That's the only reason why you can say something so irresponsible. No, I've experienced all that more times than I can count. Failures, setbacks, regrets, and the pain that comes with them. And all because of the genius named Kurosumaki-sei. Equations don't have feelings. Yeah, but it's always humans who solve them in the end. We were glaring at each other, our faces close enough to kiss. Maho's gaze burned into me. For some reason, I couldn't bear to look at her, so I turned away. I turned around without saying a word and tried to head out the door, but she grabbed the hem of my shirt and stopped me. I didn't expect that. You need something else? I turned around, annoyed. A moment ago, her expression had been so fierce, but now she simply wore a sad smile. It was so different that for a moment I thought I jumped world lines. Huh? Maho whispered to me. You're a terrible liar, too. Liar? Was I lying? I put my hands up to my face, trying to figure out what she meant. But that didn't tell me what kind of look I had on my face, of course. So I simply stood there, confused. Liar? What do you mean? I'm not lying.
Ratchet told me something. He said that a year ago he couldn't even bring up the time machine with you. And Steins Gate was out of the question entirely. You didn't even want to hear the words.
What are you talking about?
That's different now. The look on your face is the same as the one I used to have all the time. I'd lost to Kurisu during the experimental trials. I'd lost her with my papers. I'd lost her in terms of fame. I was so depressed I was ready to give up. And in the end, I'd always look at myself in the mirror and yell.
Maho pointed to her own heart with her index finger.
If you give up on trying, it's over. And then you'll never win.
Then she pointed it at my left breast.
Your face is the same as mine was. At the very, very bottom of your heart, you're still ready to take revenge. You're still ready to take revenge on Steins Gate for making you into this pathetic person.
Me? I still hadn't given up. No, it's not true.
It is true. You really are just like me. It's like I'm seeing my own reflection. You're stubborn, and once you say something, you never back down. Even if you know you're wrong, you pout like a child and refuse to admit it, which causes all kinds of worry and trouble for everyone else. You know, it'd make me feel a lot better if you told me I wasn't like that. But that's why I understand. When it comes down to it, both you and I are going to stand up on our own 2 feet. Am I wrong, Intero Okabe? I'll say it again. All the laws of this world are just equations, and every equation can be solved. I'm going to find the key to that answer no matter what, and God has nothing to do with it. And I'm going to reach the world line in the gap where Mayuri doesn't die and Kurisu is still alive.
After saying all that, Maho was a little out of breath. She had a lot of vitality in her tiny body. Her words, the way she looked, they hit me so hard I couldn't speak.
So, what will you do? This is your lab, right? You can't keep running without you forever.
And then I got a Rhine message.
Big trouble. What do I do? Mayuri, I just happened to pass by her. She was running away crying. Never seen her so sad.
What? Mayuri was crying? I could tell that something bad was going on. When she saw my shock, Maho looked over at the phone too. She was crying? What happened?
I don't know. I just happened to run into her, so I said hi. And she was crying. I was really surprised, but when I asked what was going on, she was really upset. She said that it was her fault Kurisu had died, and that's why you were suffering. She said she should have died instead. Then she ran away. I ran after her, but I got lost. But I lost her. What do I do, Okabe? What do I do?
What? I looked at Maho. Did she hear that? Come to think of it. Daru, who had come out of the shower room at some point, was standing right behind me. It was Mayushi who told me you were coming to the lab. Said she was coming here too. And that meant there was a good chance she did. Oh no. I felt like my knees were going to give out. Mayuri existed in this world line because of Kurisu's sacrifice. And that was the one thing that Mayuri could never find out. Me, Daru Suzuha Ferris Maho, everyone who knew the truth had kept it from her. I needed to find her. I needed to find Mayuri. I couldn't let her be alone right now. Damn it! I ran out of the lab. And I think that this is a pretty good place to cut it. We approach... I think we are approaching the penultimate ending. I'm not 100% sure. But things are getting spicy! Oh, I'm so excited. But for now, thank you all so much for following my playthrough of Steins Gate 0. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye now.